Okay, can you see the full screen, Danielle?
Yep.
Oh, great, thanks for letting me know. Okay, welcome. So I want to talk today about being the best. And that concept might evoke different thoughts and feelings from each of us, right? Some of us might say, I do not want to be the best. Some of us might say, yes, please. That's what I'm, obsessed with. I, of course, am in the camp of, I think my whole life been obsessed with just understanding in a good way, understanding how it is that some people have these epic levels of happiness and joy and success and health. And so that's really kind of the context in which I bring this to us all here. And thank you for joining me in the AMPED Inner Circle. And so I want to talk about this concept of like, do you want to be the person that's the game changer, that's in the game, or do you want to be on the sidelines? And if you're in the AMPED Inner Circle, I believe that you want to be in the game and you want to be making things happen in your life and you want to be feeling confident about your ability to do that. And you want to have some influence in your success and your families and your relationships and your health, your finances. So I want to share with you a book that I know Judy's on, and she probably has it, but it's by Bo Eason, and it's brand new, and it's a new bestseller on, was it? I'm sure it's like going to be New York Times bestseller, but Bo Eason, I want to just kind of set this up for you and where some of this comes from. Bo Eason is one of my mentors and trained me as a speaker at a conference, didn't train me personally, but I've been following him and I love this new book. It's brand new by him. And the interesting thing about Bo Eason, let me tell you a little bit about who he is and why I think I care. And Bo Eason was this little kid that grew up to be an NFL pro player and then and wanted to be the best. He wanted to be the best safety in the world. He ends up being the best safety in the world, and he gets an injury that takes him out of the game, right? He then has a desire to use that physical energy that he has. He's like, where am I going to use all that physical energy? I'm going to explode if I don't. He's like, acting. I could be an actor. He's never acted in his whole entire life. So he flies out to New York City, and over the course of the next 10, I think, or 15 years, does everything he can to be the best what do they call it? Best playwright. He wanted to be one of the best actors and playwrights. So he goes to New York and he's like, who's the best? And they're all like, well, it's Al Pacino. He says, well, how do you get to Al Pacino? And they say, well, no one gets to Al Pacino. Somehow, of course, by him expressing that he desired to be the best and he would like to learn from Al Pacino, he ends up being at Al Pacino's house for 3 hours, asking him all about what it was like to be the best and what it takes. And Al Pacino was so enamored with him and just loved that spark that Bo had, right? And Bo talks about how as he is then delivering what then becomes the best playwright in New York City, the best one-man show, and he did that for 13 years or so. He remembers looking down and who was sitting in the crowd was Al Pacino, was Tom Cruise, were these actors that were looking at him. And so I want to start this training by sharing with you what he says, okay? So he says, the first time I ever played tackle football, the first day of practice, they weighed and measured us for the game program. I was a freshman in high school, 5 feet tall and 100 pounds. And by the look on the coach's face, it was clear I was not football material. My dad picked me up after practice and I told him, Dad, they weighed and measured us and the coach thinks I'm too small to play. Without skipping a beat, he said, did they measure your heart, goddammit? I told him, my school doesn't even have one of those heart measuring things. Then my dad told me a story about a little puppy. He was a ranch hand on his uncle's cattle ranch, and they used a dog to help herd the cattle. This dog was amazing. It could do the work of 10 men, and it was always one step ahead of the herd. The ranch literally could not survive without this dog. When the ranch dog gets too old and loses a step, they breed it with another rancher's dog, my dad said. And then when the puppies are born, the rancher takes the smallest puppy, the runt of the litter, and ties a little piece of yarn around its neck. Then he watches that puppy very carefully. After about 12 weeks, the rancher takes all the puppies except for the runt and gives them away. The runt of the litter is the new working dog on the ranch. Bo, the runt always has to work harder to survive against its bigger brothers and sisters. Always. The runt becomes the smartest, the fastest, the most determined. Of all the puppies, the runt's heart is the biggest. The rancher stakes his whole livelihood on that fact. Bet on the runt every time, goddammit. I knew what my dad was telling me. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so I knew my place. I was the runt. I had to work harder than anyone else. And that's exactly what I did. I made that dog story my story. And I've been telling myself that story ever since. It helped me develop the stamina to keep going after what I wanted most in life, and it led to every success I've ever had. Story, stamina, success. It's that simple. That doesn't mean it's easy. It can be hard as hell to keep repeating your story and to follow through with the actions that will make the story come true. But I know you can do it, because if I did it, anyone can do it. I have one more paragraph I want to share with you. When I was in high school, there were 1.2 million high school football players in the United States. What percentage of those 1.2 million players do you suppose went on to play in the NFL? The answer is 0.03%. My tiny high school had 27 boys, farm boys, on the football team. There had never been a pro athlete from that high school before I got there, and there never has been one since I left. Not one. Based on the statistics I just showed you of high school players turning pro, how many of those 27 farm boys on my team do you suppose went to play on the NFL? The answer, 4. 4 of us played in the NFL for a total of 25 years with 2 Super Bowl appearances. That's a statistical impossibility. That can't happen. So I want us to start there, realizing a couple things about the science and psychology of being the best. So these are my 3 kiddos, and when we go out to dinner, we often play the game, what's your favorite? And it can be, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite animal? What's your favorite place to be if you could go anywhere? What's your favorite superpower? And a couple weeks ago, one of my daughters said, let's answer this question. What's your favorite thing about yourself? And little Zachary, he's a soccer player, and he says, I love that I am the best soccer player out there. And my Emily said, I am the kindest person that I know. And then she goes, I just wish more people would know that. And then my Gracie girl said, the most amazing thing, she goes, put me in any environment and I can thrive. And when I think about teaching high performance and what we're doing here in the AMPED Inner Circle, it's really about, what if you had that superpower of put you in any situation and you not only survive, but you thrive? That's what I'm going to pass through that. Okay, that's what being the best, I think, really is. It's this ability to thrive. So let's talk about that. You know, you'll see on the internet and everywhere, what's your 3-step system? And you want to know my 3-step system to be the best? I'm just going to be a little cheeky with you here. Let's just go over that real quick. Step 1, do the work. Step 2, do the work. Step 3, do the work. Okay, so our work here is done. Just kidding. So I've got a presentation for you, but there's no easy, fast way to being the best. Okay, so Robert Kiyosaki says it's easier to stand on the sidelines, criticize, and say why you shouldn't do something. The sidelines are crowded. Let's get in the game. So if you want to be a game changer, let's talk about what it takes to be the best. So one of the things we know from science, that's Bo Eason, is the coolest news ever is that being the best is non-discriminatory. Being the best doesn't care about what family you were born into. It doesn't care. It's being the best is not something that was just handed to someone at their birth and you just were unlucky and missed out. It's actually about hours logged, right? It's not only about hours logged, it's about the story you tell yourself about those hours logged. And that's what we're finding. Judy, you are a story shifting expert. And really what that is training your brain how to tell yourself a story that serves you, right? And there was this quintessential kind of study of what it takes to have mastery. And it's always been this research that says it's about 10,000 hours logged. And it's more than that we're finding now. It's not just time in, it's time in plus the story you're telling yourself. When Bo was a little boy, he drew out this, he was 6 years old. He drew this cartoon, really, this picture of him playing and saying, I will be the best safety in the NFL. That story he told himself as he logged the hours gave him expertise. That combination, right? So David Wise, he's an Olympian that lives here in Reno, up at Tahoe. He's just an ordinary kid that grew up in Montana riding little dirt bikes, right? When you ask him, he was going to speak at my event that I postponed to next year called Unstoppable. And he goes to our church and he was speaking once. And he said, when anyone comes up to him and says, so what do you do? His answer is, I get uncomfortable as fast as I can. Like, Judy, you train Olympians. You train athletes. Like, isn't that is that your job description? Yes. To be the best, to be amazing, to have amazing levels of joy. It's like, okay, my job description is I get uncomfortable as quickly as I can. I heard a woman get up at a networking luncheon. I liked her answer also. She said, well, what do you do? And she goes, whatever it takes. So that's kind of what we're talking about. I also want to say being the best is a contact sport. So you're not going to get out of this without some bruises, some scrapes. Like it's just a contact sport. Muhammad Ali said, I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion. And there's something about the suffering in high performers that it's not like your typical suffering. There's still but I think suffering's optional, right? Like pain, okay, but suffering's optional. It's almost like high performers kind of eat it for breakfast, they're not opposed to it, right? They know it's actually part of the ingredients. Babe Ruth, we know, was at the time had the #1 record for most home runs. He simultaneously held the record for the most strikeouts. Fascinating. You've probably all seen this awesome quote, but I'm setting this up, right? Like, we are just like them. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game's winning shot and I've missed. I failed over and over and over, and that's why I succeed. Okay, and the third thing I want to say about being the best. Okay, so we talked about it's non-discriminatory. So it's available to all of us. That's the great news. It's not about talent. It's about hours logged plus the story you're telling yourself. It's a contact sport. So it ain't easy, but it's worth it. But being the best, why am I so obsessed with being the best? It's not to be the best. It's to have epic levels of joy and connection and confidence and engagement and feel my life. If you look at the best, they are the wealthiest, but they are the happiest. They are the most connected humans because high performers understand it's social. So they have very deep, meaningful relationships. They have awesome levels of health. So you want to find your passion and purpose and happiness in life, go and be the best. Okay. So that's why I take a stand for it. So I am going to share with you 3 steps so our brains can wrap our heads around kind of this framework. And it really, I got to give some credit to Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins said something along the lines of, There's like 3 steps, 3 pieces of actually achieving all that you want to achieve. The first is, of course, you have to believe it's like possible. The second, he said, is you have to believe you're capable of it. But the third is you have to choose to be the one. So it's not enough to just believe it's possible and to believe that like you're capable. You have to choose to be the one that then goes and does it. So my first concept here is we have to figure out, do we believe that it's possible? So when you tell yourself, I'm going to story little Zachary here, but when you tell yourself, okay, I am the best, like just notice what happens in your brain. Or I want to be the best, or like, what do you want to be the best at? Now that can be a job title, like a speaker. That can be, I want to be the best at loving people. It doesn't have to be, like, find something that you're passionate about to be the best at. Zachary is now 8. I would say until he was 7, his dream was to grow up and be a dog. And if you're in my family, you're not going to hear from me that that's not possible, right? We're going to ride this as long as we can because we believe. and he actually at one point wanted to marry Lady, like our dog here. And do you believe in your mind's eye at that level? Probably not, right? We have to have this kind of childlike curiosity. Curiosity is the number one kind of trait that the most successful people in business have. Most successful people in life. It's curiosity. So it's like, I wonder how I can go and make that happen. So there's this great song that I could sing to you. If you're happy and you know it, overthink. If you're happy and you know it, overthink. If you're happy and you know it, give your brain a chance to blow it. If you're happy and you know it, overthink. So we've got to like train our brain. Okay. We've got to train our brain to think differently when it comes to thinking thoughts like, I want to be the best and I'm going to be the best. Okay. And here's the distinction. I want you to train your brain for possible, not probable. So the brain's job, what brains do is it lives in the land of probability until we train it otherwise. The limbic brain, the reptilian brain, it just lives in the land of, I'm going to collect the data so far. I'm going to use the data and keep myself safe, free from judgment, free from failure, free from making a fool of myself, free from defeat, free from not reaching my goals. And it's super great at it. And so it says, you know, when your big goal, what's like the probability of you being the best speaker in the world, Aaron? You're like 45 years old and really you think you're going to be the best. Okay. It just does that. That's just what brains do. Okay. And we want to train it. I'm not interested in what's probable. I'm interested in what's possible. And that success is inevitable when I follow the principles of success. Okay. So, you know, this picture here, of course, is this man beating the 4-minute mile, which people said could never, ever happen. And then it happened. And then guess what happened? Lots of other human beings beat the 4-minute mile. So we need to train our brain to think otherwise, to live in the land of possibility. Okay, so first is believing it. The second step is actually declaring that you are it, that you are the one that is going to accomplish it. Not that it's just possible, but that you are the one that is the vehicle through which this dream can happen. And that is an interesting concept. So it goes beyond just affirmations like this, like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I am the best. No, it's actually a level beyond that. And this is what true confidence is in adulthood. In childhood, confidence is different than adulthood. Confidence in childhood is about getting non-conditional positive regard, having acceptance from people that you know, we are attached to, which is usually our parents, right? Confidence in childhood is a developmental thing that often comes from outside of us. In adulthood, I would pose that confidence is the ability to figure things out. So when you look at this, like, I could be the best, I want to be the best, or I want to be spectacular or excellent at this thing that I'm not yet the best at, you can realize that you can own confidence that, okay, I don't know how I'm going to become one of the best speakers in the world, but I am confident in my ability of figuring things out. Someone once said to me, I'm good at getting good at things. Can you just be like the best at, I'm so good at getting good at things. I am like the best learner. If you're the best learner, then success can't help but follow. Or I'm the best adapter. Or can you find what you can truthfully say you can have confidence in? I love this kind of definition. Like, have you, like, what's your percentage of surviving what you've experienced? Oh, 100%. Okay, nailing it. Like, you have figured out everything so far in your life. You've figured it out. You have survived. So Marie Forleo, this great business coach, and she just wrote a book, Everything is Figure Outable. It's a saying that her mom said to her growing up. Everything is figure outable. That slogan, that idea, that's actually what confidence in adulthood looks like. When I decided to be a professional speaker, I had not done professional speaking yet, but I decided to be that and realized I was going to be the one that did that. Okay, I didn't have confidence in my ability, like my competence. I had confidence in my ability to figure it out along the way because of my track record of nailing it so far. And you have the same track record as that. So this was a picture of Zachary on his first day of school. And he said in the car, he goes, this year is going to be legendary. And I want you to understand that when people say, like, you just need to decide, that's what it is. So here's what happens when we decide. This is what's so cool in the brain. When you decide that that thing that you want is going to happen and that it's possible, I want you to spend a little bit of time every single day in that future decision, because what happens is your brain will store a memory of your future self. Is that not the coolest thing? And then the brain, because the brain doesn't know when you're telling it a lie or truth or conscious or unconscious or real or imagined, it actually doesn't. It's like, oh, how do we make that go happen? So what decision do you need to make and spend a little bit of time every day imagining as if it's come true? And your brain will store a future memory, and then your brain will just be on the lookout, and all the world will start conspiring to make that happen. Okay? So that really is the neuroplasticity of belief. 3.5 years ago, I met a woman at a swimming pool, and her name was Debbie, and we were strangers, and we got to know each other. Debbie ends up being my master marketing guru. And as we began at a coffee shop planning out my business, she's like, Erin, like, you're going to speak for places like Facebook and Microsoft and all these places. And I was like, you're smoking crack. Like, that is ridiculous. What color should my website be? And she's like, no, we're going to we're going to, and she saw it for me. And I started to see it for myself. And the neuroplasticity of belief means exactly what I said. Your brain is just going to try to make that happen. Okay. So favorite way I love teaching people how to grow that neuroplasticity muscle, so to speak, is the wondering technique. So you literally just ask your brain, I wonder who I'm going to meet that's going to help me become a professional speaker. I wonder how great it's going to feel when I am. I wonder where I'll get booked next. I wonder where I'll find my next client. I wonder who I'll meet at this networking luncheon. I wonder how we'll play together. I wonder how much fun we're going to have. I wonder who I'm going to dance with at a Brennan Burchard conference and become friends with. Right, Patty? I'm always wondering, because your brain then goes looking for what you are looking for. Okay? So start telling it what you want it to do. I won't tell the details of this story, Patty, but I was at a Justin Timberlake concert, and I was in the back row, second to back. I could touch the wall, I was that high up, because that's what I could, like, it was $146 to sit on the worst seat. And I was happy. This was a couple months ago, and I brought my binoculars, and I remember putting the binoculars up, and I'm just happy. I'm like, I am so grateful to be here. And I put the binoculars up, and I looked at the people in the front row, and I was like, I wonder how fun it's going to be when I get to the front row. I wonder, like, what does that take to get to the front row? And I ended up getting to the front row, that concert. And I'm not saying that just manifestation is about just think it and it happens, but I'm saying the science shows that it's pretty powerful. And, this happened at Brendan's, the first event I ever went to of his. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a picture with Brendan. I had no idea that doesn't happen at these events, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. And everyone back in Reno, all my friends were like, yes, you are, and I'm so excited. I'm giddy. I'm like, okay, I'm going up to his signs. I'm like, okay, I'm getting closer. Then I saw him here. It's actually a cardboard cutout, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm getting closer. Too soon, right? Too soon? Okay, I'm bringing him home. And by now, people on Facebook and all my friends are like, you have to get a picture with him. I'm like, you guys, no one's getting a picture with him. And I just kept wondering, I wonder how I'm going to get a picture with him. I just wonder. And there was a set of circumstances that had to occur that I had to say yes to, that I got it. And I got to speak to him, and I got to ask him a question. And, do you believe in the power of this so much that it's just the way that you live and you exist? So a couple of weeks ago, Emily had her braces on, and she really wanted them off. And she goes, Mom, can you please manifest these coming off today? She had an appointment at the ortho. And I was like, okay, well, here's what manifestation looks like. First, I have to go to the appointment with you. Second, I have to talk to the orthodontist. Third, I have to ask for what I want. So I go, and he laughed so hard, this orthodontist. I'm like, I'm manifesting these coming off, which means I'm here saying, can we please take them off? And, he did. It was really funny. I'm like, my manifestation game is strong. I mean, that's what manifestation looks like. You show up, you do the work, you tell yourself a story about the work you're doing, and that's how it happens. Okay. So I believe we don't fake it till you make it. I believe you decide who you want to be and be it. Okay. And this is what I want you to imagine. I want you to focus more on who you're being than how everything's going to kind of stack up. So when we look at Meryl Streep, and we many of us humans would say she's the best actress, we don't say she's the best. We don't say, like, look at her acting in that movie. We just think she is that person in the movie. She's being. She's not so much acting. She's being. That, like, the best actors are the people that are being that character. So Bo Eason talks about this. I was talking about this book, Patty, that I started with the book. Oh my gosh, the book is amazing. And Patty's been to his event. And I'll be going soon. And I think, Judy, have you been to his event? No? The greats, the best people, the best of the best, imagine and act as if they are already that. And that informs their decisions today. And you might think of this as an ideal self kind of exercise, but I want you to understand that all of the answers you want are already in you. You don't need to find yourself. You're not lost. The problem is we are just, I believe, not consulting with our ideal self. If she was right here, we're just not consulting with her. I would make the assertion that she knows exactly what to do at all times. Erin, ideal self, Erin, what would you order off the menu? Oh, would you go to the gym this morning? Okay. Would you speak? Would you go to this networking group? What would you do? She always knows. How would you handle it when the kids get unruly? Oh, what kind of wife do you want to walk in the door and be? Oh, okay. She always knows, but I just haven't consulted her. I think that's the problem. I think your answers are completely there. Okay, but we just need to connect with them, right, Judy? So I want you to think of what your superpower is, and this word gets used a lot, But after I started my business and about a year later became saleswoman of the year, I was like, what the heck just happened? And I was trying to figure out, like, what in the world just happened? And because I had no sales training experience really, and at that point I didn't have much, and I always told myself I wasn't a saleswoman. I helped people like they were mutually exclusive categories. But we were at the lake, and Zachary looks through this telescope and he sees this boat way across the lake, and he exclaims in his little 7-year-old voice, "I see humans." And I realized that that was responsible for all of my greatness. And whatever it is that you want to be the best at, it comes down to how you're being, and how you're being is your superpower. Like, how you're being will eat strategy for breakfast. Okay, you can quote me on that one. Like, how you're being trumps any how. How you're being trumps any 3-step manual to success, right? And your superpower, that thing that people say they love most about you, if we go back, or even what you love most about yourself, that's your ticket to greatness and being the best. So when I started this conversation, we talked about my family going around and answering, what do you like best about yourself? I want you to like answer that right now for yourself. What do you like the best about yourself? That's what's going to propel you to be the best, to reach excellence at whatever it is, this thing you're doing. It's not necessarily the thing you're doing is the vehicle. If I want to be the best speaker in the world, I have to be the best at seeing humans, don't I? It's amazing. Saleswoman of the year, I had to be the best at listening to people. That's what I was the best at. Certainly not the best saleswoman, although I'm getting pretty good. Okay, step 3. So step 1 to be the best was you have to believe it. Step 2 is you have to believe you're the one to do it. So it's not enough to just believe like, oh yeah, that's possible. You have to believe like, oh, I'm going to go do it. And then third is you have to do it. So I wish I could just say, just do it. So step 3 is just do it. And then just do it again. So I bring this picture up of this Mercedes because I was in a business where the company car was this white Mercedes. And if you could get to a certain level, you could get the white Mercedes. And back in the day, before I was evolved, I really thought that car was a measure of my worth on the planet. So you can imagine, and that's really not an overstatement. I'm not being dramatic. Like I would cry myself to sleep every month end because I was not getting closer to like this level where you'd get the car that somehow indicated you were good enough, right? And I ended up not getting this car, not in that business. And I was at the Mercedes dealership, and I'm because I always wanted a white Mercedes, just happened to be this company car of this business I was in. And they're pulling it up, and I just start bawling at the Mercedes dealership. And they're like, "Can you get the manager, please?" So they bring the manager in. The manager like, "Ma'am, are you okay?" I'm like, "Of course I'm okay. I'm ecstatic." I'm like, "I'm getting a Mercedes." I go, "Doesn't everyone cry when they get a Mercedes?" And he's like, "No, ma'am." And I said, "Well, they should." And I just want to, the point of this story is, are you willing to allow the how? The brain is so addicted to, but how am I going to become the best speaker? How am I going to make this happen? How am I going to get a Mercedes? How? I had no idea it was going to come through this other avenue, and that would be sweeter, right? It was sweeter than it would have been. But let's not be so obsessed with the how. Let's be obsessed with the practicing and the logging the hours and the story we're telling about ourselves as we enjoy logging the hours. So when Bo Eason was practicing football, he didn't know, how's this all going to happen? How am I going to get into the NFL? He became addicted and obsessed in a good way to, I'm going to log the hours. I'm going to do what the greats do. I'm going to get up again at 5 a.m. and go. Yep, I'm going to do it again. I don't know how this is all going to happen. That's not our job. Our job is to go and do it. So I want to share you a little video of my hero, and this is what I want you to think of in terms of being the best. And Les Brown says, this little girl's my hero. Les Brown says, it's not over until I win. So let's just watch her for a minute.
All fight.
You know, your dreams are worth that process. So allow the how, enjoy the process. You know, this is me winning Salesman of the Year, but I didn't go out to intend to win Salesman of the Year. I just did what I knew how to do, was connect with people. Looking back, I was like, oh, that's a good strategy, connect with people. I mean, you know, like your heart and your intention and your desire to be the best at what you do will end you in lead you to places that you can't even predict, nor is your job, I believe, to predict. So the thing we know about the best, and we're talking about being a game changer and not sitting on the sidelines and being in the game, is they love the game, right? They love the process. And that sounds really cliche and easy, but for some reason, when I started my business, I believe it was a divine download because it was way too smart for my brain to come up with. But my brain said, Erin, enjoy every step of this. Enjoy being new. Enjoy the firsts and messing up, because someday you're going to be an expert and you're going to be just expected. And so you better enjoy the journey. And I did. The first talk I gave was to 6 people in a coffee shop in Carson City, which, Judy, is a tiny little town. And you would have thought that I was Miss America. I mean, I was like, this is so exciting. So enjoy the process. The greats enjoy, and I would say it's not so much the love of the game, it's the love of the practice. So I have 1 minute for you. Judy, you might have seen this awesome commercial. It's a minute.
It's the last goodbye, I swear. I have no regret, for the past is behind. Tomorrow reminds me just where. Can't quite see
Rule yourself. Wow. So are you in love with the practice? So I want to end there, and would love your feedback, love your reactions, love your take homes, takeaways. If anyone would like to share, please do.
Hey, Erin.
Hey, Judy.
So I loved, yeah, being in love with the practice, like being in love with the journey is more than the, than the sum of it all. And the 10,000 hours plus the story, because I had a lot of athletes on my team that came to all the practices, but didn't really struggle to believe in that what was possible for them. And the ones that believed had a much better experience all the way around. So yeah. Sometimes
when I speak, I will tell myself I'm just one step closer to the stadium. You know, it's like, oh, this is the path. Enjoy it, because it's like inevitable, and I don't know how it's going to happen. And the brain sometimes wants to just shut me down and be like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's like, no, I'm not concerned with the how. But thank you, Judy. I bet you have a lot of experience with that. The hours logged, yeah, hours logged plus the story and the meaning you're attaching to it equals expertise, mastery, joy.
Yeah, and of course the how we're being Trump strategy anytime. And I think what you talked about, how we don't listen to ourselves, I think, I speak for myself, I just, where I just went the wrong way, which wasn't really the wrong way, it was the path. But at the time, I judged my decision or judged I judged myself. So then I was like, well, apparently I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to take care of myself. I don't know, right? And then we kind of stopped listening to our intuition.
Thank you for that. And my response to that is always like, well, let's dive in and look at that time, why does it make perfect sense I chose that? So yeah, and giving ourselves grace. And that's truly what self-coaching is, I believe. It's compassion. And that I don't believe anyone wakes up and says, I would like to screw up my life today. I would like to take myself on the wrong path. No, like, oh, it makes perfect sense I chose that stupid behavior. Because at the time, right? So I love there's this concept of regret versus guilt. Regret actually implies growth. You can't have regret until you've grown, which I think is fascinating. So you've grown in understanding, knowledge, experience, some sort of wisdom. You can't regret something until you've grown to regret it. So it's like kind of a cool thing. If we can look at like, oh, that makes perfect sense. I made that decision then. So that's how we do self-coaching. Thank you, Judy. I love that. Okay, anyone else?
I love what you say about how your mind works, and to, what is it? You bless it, you bless the thought, and then you tell your mind, okay, that's what has happened before, but my life is different now, and it's going to be different. I'm in charge, things are different. And I actually put that into practice yesterday. And it made a big difference in some editing that I was doing for this gentleman. He's a top speaker in the country, and I was just having trouble getting a breakthrough in his writing. And as soon as I did that and I focused, it just started flowing. And I finished the job for him, and I sent it off, and he sent me an email saying, thank you, invoice me, I'll pay you right away. And it just, it's the mindset, it's the belief, what you believe, and that you can achieve really anything that you decide that.
Wow.
I don't know how. And I want you to know, Erin, that January, I have floor seats here at the Spectrum Center in Charlotte to see Oprah Winfrey.
When?
Yeah, July,
When?
January.
Okay.
January.
Okay.
So
yesterday there was this Facebook ad, like to go and see Oprah, and I can't be there that time. I'm like, dang, I wonder how I'm going to meet her.
well.
And Judy and Danielle, I met Patty dancing at a Brendan Burchard work conference, wondering who I would meet dancing at a Brendan Burchard conference. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I love it.
Yeah. But working on your book has transformed my life, Erin. It has really transformed my life. Being a part of working with you and the whole editing business, it's really transformed me. And I'm so grateful to you and to God for how my life is going. And it doesn't mean that it's easy all the time, but it's definitely going in a great direction.
Thank you, friend. Vice versa. I love you. Well, thank you everybody for being on. Share the inner circle with your friends. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to keep making awesome trainings. And thank you.
So Patty's an editor?
Yes, she's my editor for my book. She was, yes, and she's a professional editor.
Because, you know, there's somebody over here who got to write a book.
Oh, Judy. Judy's writing a book. We just found out about an hour ago. Yes, Judy is writing a book. Yeah.
Well, I started about 4 books, but I think I actually have the book now, the right book. You know, write the right book.
Great. We got a publisher too.
Good.
Oh, we got you all.
Good. Yes.
Here's a winning track record. Yes. Oh my gosh, so excited. Your book's gonna be amazing. All right. Well, thank you everybody. It was a joy to be with you. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.